The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and you're joining us in April. April is the A month where we talk about all things autism, acceptance, action, awareness, advocacy, appreciation. I'm trying to think of all the A words that we always talk about. Accomplices, allies, right? It's different things for different people. We welcome everyone here to talk about all of those things because we think that they're important. I've got great guests for you today. Two amazing young women who are, I want to get their job titles right. So we've got Erin Walker, who's going to be joining us, and she is the Senior Program Coordinator for the College Support Program, specifically the Peer Mentor Program at Rutgers University. And then Kia Pai, who is the assistant program coordinator of that same program. They're both going to be joining us in just a little while to talk about what a peer mentor program looks like on the Rutgers campus. Believe me, you know, if you've been wanting your child to go to college and you're concerned about how will that go, you're going to be so excited that the world has these two amazing people and this truly amazing program at Rutgers University. So that's going to be coming up in a little while. First, we want to remind you that this show was pre-taped because we're moving. And, you know, it's not an A word, it's an M word, but we're moving in April. I know. Whose idea was that? Let me say it was not mine, but it's the way things timed out. Sometimes you got to embrace the chaos, right? So in order to be able to come to you with all these amazing programs, we have been pre-taping with amazing people for the last 2 months. So very thoughtfully, we handpicked the people we wanted you guys to see in April because, you know, our whole mission here is to provide information and inspiration. That's what we're here about at the Autism Network. And it doesn't stop because we're moving, but there are days when we're not going to be able to film. So we pre-taped a lot of April. So there's a schedule. You guys can be checking it out. I hope you are. But so this episode is premiering today, but we did pre-tape this in March. So, but we still hope that you will be watching live and interacting with us because chances are I'm sitting there and seeing your comments and talking back and forth to you. And it could be that both of our guests are watching live too, or other people from Rutgers. So please feel free to continue to chat, even though it's a pre-taped episode. It's premiering today. It's never been seen before. So want to remind you that you can be watching us live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. But you can also check out our very robust YouTube channels. We have 2 YouTube channels, one that's Autism Live and another that's Ask Dr. Doreen. Please check out, we have a library of over 14 years of videos. That's just shocking even to me, but 14 years of videos. And so you can go back and see other interviews that we've done. I hope you check that out. Also, many of you we know are listening in podcasts because later today, this will be available wherever you get your podcast to download for free. I love the free word, and we have worked really hard for 14 years to make sure that our content is available to you for free. Our watchwords are that we're providing information and inspiration to that larger autism community that starts with individuals who are themselves on the spectrum. They are whole Y, right? They are the beating heart of our community, but we include everyone who loves those individuals. So check out our podcast wherever you get podcasts. It will be for free, but that does mean that you will get advertising as a part of the program. I hope that's a wonderful thing for you. I know when I'm listening to a podcast that I download for free and the ad plays, I go, woohoo, thanks for paying so I don't have to, right? If that's not your reaction, I do want to direct you to a place where you can get the podcast ad-free. But that is a low monthly cost of $5 a month. You will need to go to glow.fm/autism live. When you go there, like I said, $5 a month. and you will get everything that the Autism Network does. All of our programming for April, certainly, whether it's Ask Dr. Doreen, Autism Live, Parent to Parent, Stories from the Spectrum, any new show that premieres will automatically show up in your inbox. You don't even have to worry about it. You don't have to go looking for it. And it will be ad-free. Also, you may have noticed that in April, on our Thursdays and Fridays, we're presenting new information that's entirely in Spanish. I just love this. And this is because of the amazing work of Chris Desmond, our producer here. Kudos to Chris, because he made that possible. So all of that's available to you. As I said, go to glow.fm/autismlive. Okay, I think we've taken care of all of that business. Let's talk about jargon of the day, shall we? This is something we like to do on days when we have guests. It started 14 years ago because there were terms that as a parent, I was like, what in the hey nani nani does this mean? And I didn't want to interrupt the meeting that I was in where I was paying for an expert, or that I only had a set amount of time to ask what things meant. In the beginning, we gave you 2 definitions because we were making fun of the first one because it was usually filled with more jargon. Now definitions have gotten better, but now we'd like to give you 2 definitions so you can compare and contrast and hopefully get to see why this term might be important and beneficial to you or to someone that you love. So in light of the fact that we have 2 ladies on who are the heads of a peer mentor program, we thought maybe we should talk about what is a peer mentor. Let's take a look at our first definition that I believe comes to us from Google AI. It does. A peer mentor is a person who helps another person of similar experience or age grow through support, advice, and new opportunities. Peer mentoring is less formal than traditional mentoring, but both people benefit from the relationship. Okay, I love that. I absolutely love that. But we wanted to give you a second definition that was a little bit more specific. And so what we asked was, what is peer mentoring for autism? Is that at all different? Let's take a look. Same Google AI says a peer mentor for autism is a person who provides support and guidance to someone with autism who is close in age or experience. Peer mentoring can help with social skills, confidence, and life goals. If we just think for a moment about ourselves, and I know lots of parents that would absolutely be considered being non-autistic, right? And they feel trepidation walking into a new thing, like an IEP meeting, where they would feel better if they had a conversation with someone beforehand who had already been through an IEP meeting, and that could say to them, well, this is what I found to be helpful. This is what, and this might happen, and whatever. So just talking about it would be of benefit to them. But if somebody offered to come with them and say, hey, I'll come with you, I'll be there at the IEP meeting with you, how much support would that provide? There's been tons of research that's been done on this, by the way, and we know that people who are mentored by someone who has similar experiences are more successful because they don't have to invent the wheel. How many times have I certainly said, after I do something once and I go, well, now that I've done it once, I'd like to redo it because I know this much more and I will be able to do it more. Case in point, my child who is going to graduate from college next month. Can you believe that? Next month, my child is going to graduate from college. And I've never been to a graduation ceremony at this college before. I didn't know very much about it. But last year I happened to walk in to the college bookstore when they were having something called Grad Fest. I didn't know anything about it, but it was a place where they were getting parents ready for, I didn't even know this thing existed. I really maintain that if I hadn't walked in the bookstore a year ago, that I wouldn't have known about it this year, but I do know about it. And I'm going to go and I'm going to get all the skinny on what I need to know as a parent about graduation, because I only get to do it once, right? So that's people who are non-autistic. Why would we consider giving individuals who are on the spectrum less support than that for something that they want to do? That's mind-boggling to me. So if we're really talking about setting someone up for success, why wouldn't we make that available to them? And what we've seen over the years are that there are many, many people on the spectrum who are absolutely capable of doing the work and getting a diploma on a college campus, right? And getting accepted. But we generally see that there is a high rate of dropout, a lot of times due to stress or misunderstandings, or, it just doesn't work out. It's not that they can't handle the coursework. It's that everything in this new culture, and it is a culture on a college campus, can be difficult. But we're going to be talking about that on a college campus with these two ladies from Rutgers. But let's consider for a moment, where else could you, the person on the spectrum, or if you love someone who's on the spectrum, where else would a peer mentor be helpful to them? I mean, it really kind of lights up a whole new room, doesn't it? What else could we set them up for success with if we gave them a peer mentor? And, I'm just going to take examples that Temple Grandin talks about, the difference that a science teacher made for her, that his method of teaching her changed everything for her. And she would not be a scientist had it not been that he took an interest in her. Now, that's a little bit more than a peer mentor, because I would say that's more of a mentor, but so helpful. How much, I'll ask her the next time I talk to her, how much would it have meant to her to have a science student who was mentoring her through social situations on campus? That's a good question. I'm going to ask her that. But isn't it a great thing to think about then? Okay, so where would a mentor, a peer mentor, help the person that I love on the spectrum? And then you need to think about, how do I identify that person and how do I find that person? Well, Rutgers makes it easy. They have this amazing program that students can apply for to be a part of. And part of that is having a peer mentor, as we will find out. So we're going to take a break and show you some of the highlights about some of the things that you can be seeing during the month of April here on the Autism Network. And then when we come back, we are going to welcome to the program Erin Walker, who is the senior program coordinator of the peer program at Rutgers, and works in the college. I'm going to get it wrong. I'm going to have them say, because it's CSP and I don't, college support program. There we go. And also Kea Pai, the assistant program coordinator. They're going to both join us after these messages. So take a look at this and stick around.
It's that time of year. April has finally arrived. This week we have all new shows. On Monday, Shannon welcomes Thomas Derry, co-founder of the Rising Tide Car Wash, an innovative social enterprise to develop a scalable solution for employing individuals with autism. Then on Tuesday, Shannon and Dr. Doreen discuss the topic anxiety. On Wednesday, Shannon is joined by Erin Walker and Kea Pai from Rutgers' groundbreaking peer mentor program. On Thursdays and Fridays, we are excited to introduce Autism-live in Spanish throughout all of April.
Buenos días y bienvenidos a Autism-live. Soy Shannon Penrod.
This Thursday's show offers you ways that you can form a positive collaboration with your child's school. And on Friday, Shannon offers tips on how to survive the summer. Join us at 10 a.m. every day throughout April. The Autism Network, providing information and inspiration to families for over 14 years.
Welcome back. I hope you're checking out all the wonderful shows that we're doing during April, because we worked really hard on them. We wanted to bring you guys really cutting edge stuff, which leads me to my guests today. We just did peer mentor. Well, there was a reason for that, because we are going to, in just a second here, welcome two amazing young women, Erin Walker and Kea Pai. They are joining us from the Rutgers College Support Program, specifically their peer mentor program. Let me tell you a little bit about these ladies, because they are no slouches. Erin Walker holds a bachelor's in anthropology with minors, plural, in history and elementary education from Westchester University, and a Master of Social Work, MSW, degree with a concentration in management and policy from Rutgers University. She interned with New Jersey's Division of Aging Services, working on policy issues related to older adults and individuals with disabilities. Erin has worked with a variety of vulnerable populations, including older adults, domestic violence survivors, sexual assault survivors, and individuals with disabilities. She is currently pursuing her Doctor of Social Work, a DSW degree at Rutgers University. She is a licensed social worker, LSW, in New Jersey, and she is currently the senior program coordinator for the Peers program. We're going to talk more about that. But first, let me tell you a little bit about Kia. Kia graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology in the Honors Program and Cognitive Science from Rutgers University. During her undergraduate studies, she held roles at both the Rutgers Center for Adult Autism Services and the Douglas Developmental Disabilities Center. Kia is her professional experience lies in research, mentorship, and behavioral therapy for autistic children and adults with and without intellectual disability. Her interests include promoting mental health, quality of life, and familial relationships in adult autism. How much do we love that? She wishes to pursue graduate school for a PhD in clinical psychology, and she aspires to become a clinical psychologist in the autism research field. How amazing are these young women? Let's welcome them to the show. Erin and Kia, so thrilled to have you here.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to be here too.
Well, I am so excited. Let's start with talking about that you're both at Rutgers. Let's talk about the CSP program first. Who wants to tell me about that? And then we'll talk about the peer program.
Yeah, I can go a little bit into it. So here at Rutgers, specifically the New Brunswick campus, we have what's called the College Support Program. And what we do is we support neurodiverse students on campus. And our main focus is students with autism. But recently, over the last year, we've also started to accept students with ADHD as well. So we support them both academically and socially. We meet with them weekly. We have a group that they attend. We hook them up with different resources on campus. And we also provide the social support as well, including social events and our peer mentor program that we're going to talk about today.
And I know this is really important to parents when they have students who are going to college, and it really puts Rutgers in a place where I know parents are really interested in sending their students there because you do have this program to ensure their success. So I know the parents love it, but Kia, I would love to know from you, I'm sure that the students who are a part of the program also really appreciate it. What kinds of things do you hear from them?
When I hear from the students, it seems like the peer mentorship program has really helped buffer the stressors that they face in university environment. I believe that this program has really helped them in terms of figuring out who they are, since considering that it's a really important time in their life where they're developing their identity, and also just trying to figure out who they are.
Amazing. So if you're part of the CSP program, does it automatically follow that you will have a peer mentor, or is it a sometimes? How often? What's the percentage there?
So typically students in our program are matched with 2 peer mentors. There are instances, for example, where some of our students will prefer to have either one peer mentor, or depending on the amount of supports they require, that they may not delve into peer mentorship for that semester or year itself. But typically they do have 2 peer mentors with them. And the peer mentors in the program are also other undergraduate students who come and help volunteer in our program, whether it's to understand autism more or also to help promote inclusivity within our university environment.
Very impressive. So Erin, let's back it up a little bit. How long has the CSP program been around, and how long has the peer mentor program been around?
So they've been pretty much hand in hand since the beginning. If I'm not mistaken, the the CSP has been around for at least 10 years in different capacities. I know in the beginning, it only started with about 2 or 3 students, and currently we're supporting over 40 students in our program right now. So we have about 80 plus peer mentors that volunteer with us.
Wow, that's a lot of people. And I know because I looked at your website, there's a lot of things that you guys do. But I don't know that are there times when you get everybody together all at once, all the peer mentors and all the peer mentees, and do something social?
Yes. So at the beginning of our semester, in the fall semester, we hold, so let me backtrack a little. So
Yeah.
we each have a social event monthly, and that's open to peer mentors and our CSP students. Those typically will see, give or take about, 20 to 30 students plus peer mentors at a time. But we try our best to encourage everyone to come to all of them, of course. But usually at the beginning of the semester, for the students to have a chance to get to meet their peer mentors, get to meet other students that are part of the program, other peer mentors who may not be their peer mentor, we hold a kind of like a big, massive meet and greet social event right as the semester begins. And so that can get a little big because, you're looking at over 80 students, just peer mentors alone. But It is a lot of fun. It can get a little overwhelming for some of our students because we know, not everyone can enjoy those big types of crowds. We make sure we have a quiet space for them set aside so they can, decompress as needed. But yeah, that's usually, we see about 20 to 30 students monthly at the social events. But yeah, we do try our best to have the big event at the beginning of the year.
Okay, I want to back all the way up. And I'm a student, I'm applying to Rutgers. When I'm applying, do I need to identify that I want to be a part of the CSP program, or I wait until I get accepted and then is there an application? How do I get into the CSP to start? And Kia, let's have you answer that. I realize I'm not asking. I was waiting for you guys to. I'll just ask Kia. How does that work?
So the Rutgers admission process is actually completely different than the college support program admissions process. So typically, students are allowed to apply to the college support program, but we won't go ahead and schedule an interview with them once we understand that they are accepted and have committed to the university. So that's typically what the steps we take.
Okay, so you got to get accepted first, but then you do need to apply to the CSP program.
Yes,
okay.
You do have to apply to CSP after getting accepted. Okay. And a big factor that plays into possibly getting into our program is the willingness to participate in our program.
Yeah. Listen, I understand this because I know a lot of people who are like, I want to go to college and I want to not be identified and I want to do it on my own. And it's a struggle. It's a struggle, right? So of course it needs to be people who want to participate. Even if the parents want them very much to be there, if they don't want to do it, it's not going to be a good fit. Can we all agree to that?
Absolutely.
Right? But, okay, so now you've identified, somebody applied, they said, I want to be a part of this. So, Erin, do they automatically get assigned the peer mentor or mentors, or how does that work? And how do you try to fit people to people? This sounds like matchmaking.
Yeah, that's essentially what it feels like. I feel like we're like doing friendship matchmaking or mentoring matchmaking in the making. So typically, our first year students, they all get their 2 peer mentors. And we kind of feel it out after that. If they want to keep the peer mentorship going, if they get along really well with them, maybe they want to just drop to 1. Maybe socially they're doing so well, they join clubs, they've made friends, and really the peer mentorship is something they don't necessarily need. We kind of see the gamut in that sense, but we do make sure that all of our first year students with us do have their 2 peer mentors. And that's exactly it. We try our best to match based on, their similar interests that we learn about between the peer mentor interview as well as the CSP student interview. Same with, trying to match them based on their major. Maybe we have one student who's majoring in anthropology, for example, and then we have another student who is also majoring in anthropology. I might be more inclined to want to match them together because they're in similar majors. They may have similar interests, that type of thing. But yeah, we try our best to go based on, the limited information we know about the peer mentor and the CSP student. There are times that, personalities may not mesh, that type of thing. And that's okay. We get it. We're all human and, we don't always get along with everybody. So if that's the case, we'll have opportunities to be able to rematch students and peer mentors in case that type of thing happens.
Amazing. And this is not, you're not the only department in Rutgers that participates in the mentorship. I know I was looking at the website and noticing that the honors program also has peer mentors. I feel like Rutgers really gets it, that this is a hard transition to make, no matter who you are, and that having somebody on campus that is responsible for checking in and making sure that you're okay has been beneficial for all kinds of people. And I love that that kind of normalizes it for your folks that are on the spectrum, that they're not the only ones getting a peer mentor. It makes it look like, gosh, this is a good thing. Why not do this? But how long, and Kia, this one is for you. How long does this last? Is this a 6 months, a 1 year? Is it 2 years? What's the average for how long people keep their mentors?
So typically peer mentorship, once it begins for the student, it lasts until they remain in our program, which could be really dependent on whether they stick with us for a while and, they come to a point where they're more independent and may not require our services anymore, or up until graduation as well, because we have students who do require our supports till the very end. And we actually have 2 tiers of supports. So those who are receiving the most comprehensive level of supports in our program, they will have peer mentorship. Meanwhile, those who are more independent and not receiving as many supports will not have peer mentorship, but they're still invited to our monthly social events because we want to foster inclusion and also make sure that everyone is welcomed and included within our program.
Yeah, it's a safety net. At least you've got some place to go where people know you, right? Is the whole thing that Cheers was based on, right? Where everybody knows your name. Amazing. I'd like to take a second and talk about why this for you. So Erin, why did you want to be the senior program coordinator? Why is this your particular passion? And, you're on your way to doing a lot of other things. This is not where you're going to stay forever, but why is this your passion right now?
Undergraduate realized it wasn't my path.
Erin, you're garbled for a second.
Then,
your internet, hold on one second. Your internet has decided to be wonky. Let's see if it can fix a little bit. And Kia, let's have you answer that question and we'll come back to you, Erin.
So what brought me into this field in particular, my brother is diagnosed with autism. So growing up, I've had a different experience compared to my peers. It's changed my family dynamic in a way where, I have stepped up in my family and, helped support both my parents to help facilitate development for my brother. And the autism field has also just kept coming back to me throughout the years. So when I initially joined Rutgers as an undergraduate student, I had particular passions in pursuing psychology, but not exactly what path I wanted to do. But this field kept coming back to me. Just the level of inclusivity and just feeling included really spoke to me. And I feel like there's such a great need for not only like children within the field, but also adults, because adulthood is such a big milestone developmental period throughout one's life. So that's what brought me here to, being a part of the college support program. And even though this is only like a small sector or chapter in my life right now, before I pursue like higher education, like the amount of growth that I've experienced in this past semester alone by just working with the team has really showed me that I do belong here. And this is the field that I want to keep going with. So
we have a saying here that siblings of individuals on the spectrum grow up to be some of the most incredible people on the face of the earth. So look at you proving it. And I noticed that you want to become a clinical psychologist in autism research. Is there anything particular that you already know you want to research?
Yes, I think there's such a great need for mental health, of course, across the whole general population to begin with. So mental health and then also familial relationships as well. I feel like there's not enough attention being sought for example, like siblings like me, and how to address challenges within families, or trying to find like ways to minimize like stress over time, and finding ways to just improve the bond between everyone within the connection as well.
Well, that's
So
incredible.
that really plays a role into quality of life. So
That's incredible. We'll look forward to hearing from you in the future from the research that you're doing. And we had somebody on the show yesterday that we had interviewed him 10 years ago, and then we were back interviewing him again. So it can happen. I don't know how long I'm going to be around. Retirement calls. But, okay, Erin, let's try it again and see if we have you now. Say something.
All right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. And we could hear you before, but it sounded like you were inside a robot that was being
Okay.
beaten
Yeah. It is quite windy here where I'm at. So I'm not surprised we were having a little technical difficulties there, but I'm glad we're working now.
but it's working now. So if you don't mind repeating what you were saying before and adding to it, because I so rudely interrupted you, but I didn't want to waste it. Tell us why this is important.
That's okay. All right. Yeah. So, grad, I was originally an elementary education major. Realized that wasn't really my calling as much as I thought it was anymore. Switched to anthropology, realized I needed to go back to school after getting my degree. And I loved working with people. It's always been, my go-to. So I found that social work was my route that I wanted to go. What I always tell our MSW field practicum students at the center is, the beauty of social work is really that no matter what avenue you go, there's always something that you can do. There's so many, ways you can, go about with your degree. And I was very much that person. I went from working with older adults, to survivors of sexual assault and domestic violence. And then my one job was with adults with disabilities, and I just fell in love with working with the population. I always knew at some point in my career I wanted to return back to Rutgers, and thankfully a position at the college support program opened up, and I applied, then I received the job, and it's just been an amazing experience getting to watch the growth of our students that we do work with. I came in with these students with, trying to, figure out what I could do to help them. And, how do we get through these classes? How do we get through the stressful pieces of being an adult, in the real world? They're going from having a smaller classroom in high school and a lot of parental support to, you're 18 now, you're on your own. Let's see, how do you figure out life? And being able to play a role and help them kind of get to that point has really been just an amazing experience. I watched one of my students graduate last year, and he said, I wouldn't have been able to do it without you. And I'm like, no, I just kind of wrote notes down. You're the one who really did it, and I'm glad I was able to help you maybe correct that email or whatever the case may be that I was doing. And so happy to be here.
That's absolutely amazing. Since you're a licensed social worker, because I always ask people this, I see that one of the big gaps that we have, whether it's for the individual on the spectrum or for their family advocating for them, is the paperwork. That, in order to get to services, sometimes it's so overwhelming. And that not everybody is good at paperwork. And I realize I say it's paperwork, but now it's mostly online. But it can be so overwhelming, and it really, I see more and more the ability to finish filling out the documents and apply for things is a predictor of success. And it shouldn't be. I keep saying to everyone, at some point, we need to find a code in the insurance code that is for a social worker to assist the family or the individual with paperwork. If you ever find that code, will you please key me in? Because we need it.
Absolutely.
We need it. Do you guys see that? That I'm sure that there are students who, I love that there has to be an application process and they have to show that they want it. But I also wonder how many students don't get in the program because they weren't able to do the thing. Do you guys have at Rutgers a way that if they have to be able to at least advocate for themselves, I'm sure, and say, I need help filling it out. But even that, at some places, you guys are good. I'm sure you guys have stuff. But what have you seen that happen with your students, that's a little insurmountable?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I think part of when we do our application process, besides the family interview that we schedule with the families, the parents and the student or potential student have to fill out a questionnaire, just like basic information about like activities of daily living, just so we can kind of get a sense of like how independent or how successful they'll potentially be at school. And it also helps, for research that Rutgers does as well. Get a sense that like if the student hasn't filled out their, the form, or the parents haven't filled out the form, like that's a little worrisome in my eyes about like what is, school going to look like afterwards, or when they're in school. And then even that, with if families are looking for other services, or if we have a student who has to fill out a form as part of like their, requirements for their major and things like that. Sometimes no matter how many reminders you give them, they're still going to forget. And that's kind of like where, again, we step in to be like, all right, you know what, instead of, me sending you another reminder email while we're sitting at our meeting together, why don't you get it done? Right. And, we could take the time to complete the, whatever the paperwork and stuff like that together. So it's definitely a mixed bag as far as like students who complete things and who doesn't. And, once they're in the program, we definitely try our best to make sure we help them learn those skills to be able to finish and complete tasks on time.
Incredible. So you mentioned research. We've talked with both of you about research and the importance of research. I'm sure that you have some data points on what's happening as a result of this peer mentoring. What are some things that you guys can share with us that that have happened, outcomes that have happened, at least in part because of the peer mentoring? Anecdotal or data? I'll take either. And I'd love to hear from both of you. Maybe you each have a data point. Let's start with you.
Sure, sounds good. Well, I don't have the data on me right now, but I will say based on reports from my own students or even other students within our program, that peer mentorship has served as such a great support for them in terms of like having someone that they can go to in a college environment, right? So it's really difficult to form friendships at this stage of life. Especially in college and at Rutgers when we know it's such a huge university. But for them to have a peer mentor who they can go to for, just having fun around campus, for example, like having dinner or even going out for a movie. These students have found that their peer mentors have truly been there for them and actually understand where they're coming from, which is something that's so rare to find, especially when there's so much that they're experiencing within themselves. So I feel like the peer mentor program has helped them build confidence within themselves, and that it also shows within our meetings too when we meet with them too.
It's basic. Erin, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I thankfully kind of to piggyback off of what Kaya said, when I read our reports that come from the peer mentors and just even talking to our students during, the meetings, they gain even like friendship, just having that person on campus, knowing that there's someone that they can turn to when they have questions, or they might be lost, or they don't know where to grab food, or whatever the case may be, is such a piece. Because, Rutgers is a huge school. We have over 40,000 plus students here, and it's across 5 campuses, and it can be really overwhelming. And knowing that, there's someone that you're meeting up with weekly to, help you out with whatever the case may be, is something that our students really, appreciate, and that type of thing. I remember I had one student who was a commuter and, wasn't comfortable with the bus system just yet. And her peer mentor took her out on the buses, then helped her map out her schedule for school. So it's a big piece, and, our students really appreciate it.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit, and Kia, I think I said Kaya before, I apologize. Kia.
It actually is Kaya.
It's Kaya. I can't get it right. Kaya. Okay, sorry, so sorry. No
worries.
But talk to us a little bit about who are these people? Who are these people that sign up for this? What's the process for somebody to become a mentor?
Yes. Okay, so peer mentors are undergraduate students enrolled at Rutgers University. They typically have interest in, for example, understanding our community more, or will also like to help volunteer within our community as well. So typically the process for them to come on board as a peer mentor, we have an application set up on our website. So typically they will fill that out, and then we'll go ahead and schedule an interview as long as the application seems appropriate and that their intent for joining our program is also aligned with the goals of our program as well.
Okay. And then Erin, what do you find that, and I want to just tell on you a little bit that you're doing a wonderful job, but Erin's young son is there with her in the room, and I look remarkably like his grandmother. So we talked about all this before we went live, but we celebrate that here at Autism Live. Everybody that we're talking to are probably parents, and we all understand when you're doing meetings from home, sometimes that's the deal. So no apologies. Erin's there and she's a parent. And don't we love that, right? And celebrate that. So you don't have to worry about that, Erin. But talk to us a little bit about what do you find that the peers are getting? Do they, and I might have missed it. Do they get credit for it? Are they getting paid for it? Are they getting, life experience? Obviously they're getting life experience from it. What do they hardcore get out of it? And what do you find they walk away with it? And that's for you, Erin.
Yeah, so everybody is a volunteer. It's a volunteer basis. But we always tell our peer mentors that, because a lot of our students are on the pre-med track who, volunteer with us. So I always say to them, if you're applying to grad school, med school, whatever the case may be, and you're tracking your hours and you're actively participating as a peer mentor, whether that's consistently meeting with your student, which they should be anyway, or, joining their e-board, volunteering with, Rutgers Day or other, things that we have going on. I always tell them, track all those things because, we're always happy to write a letter of recommendation for them. So that's more like the, I guess, concrete things they can get from the experience with us. Mm-hmm. But I think overall, getting that exposure and, the ability to, interact with, someone who's on the spectrum. Sometimes, we ask them, do you have any experience with folks on the spectrum when we do our interview with them? And we've run the gamut of, I have no experience. This would be my first time to, I have a sibling on the spectrum to, I, work in a doctor's office. And, we sometimes have patients who are, have autism. So we have very much a range of folks who, with their experience. And I think just being able to participate and, be there for another person in this mentor role, really kind of just helps them build personally and that type of thing.
So now I have this it's seemingly off topic, but it's not. Are you guys watching The Pit on Max, on HBO? Have you seen the show The Pit that's out now?
No, I don't think so.
Neither one of you has seen it. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you, this is your homework, that it's an amazing show that's on HBO, and it takes place in Pittsburgh at an emergency room that's run by Noah Wiley. And you're probably too young to remember who Noah Wiley is, but he's amazing.
He's from ER, isn't he?
Yes, exactly. And he's playing a doctor.
My parents were very much ER fans.
Well, they will love this. They will love this. But so he's running this ER and it's the first day and it goes hour by hour through the first day. There's a series of med students that it's their first day, and it follows everything that happens, and it's shot in a very interesting way. But one of the main characters, that it's her first day being a doctor, she's a very sensitive young woman, and she has a sister who's on the spectrum. And all day long, she's wanting to check in with the sister, and the sister is played by somebody that we've had on the show, a friend of the show. But then a patient comes in who identifies himself as being on the spectrum. Now, her doctor that is overseeing her does not know how to be with him and does everything wrong. But because she's a sibling, she says, let's slow it down. Let's turn off the light so it's not as bright in here. Let's close the door. Let's talk with him about the things he wants to talk about. And it's a beautiful, beautiful scene. And the older doctor keeps getting it really wrong. And the young man playing the young man on the spectrum is an authentically autistic actor that we happen to know very well, who's a regular on the show. So you must watch it. Because what you want to do is leap through the screen and say, why isn't everyone getting the same training that this sibling gets? And what you're telling me is that you have 80, some of them pre-med students that are going through this program that are going to be better in every single doctor's office in which they're practicing from here on in. So amazing that you're doing this for the 40 people every year that need the mentorship, but really, you're churning out better doctors. Ladies, congratulations. But definitely check out the pit. It's our favorite thing. And Kobe Bird does a wonderful job on the show. He's quite amazing on it. So check that out. But you mentioned that this can go on for years. So do your mentors stay for years and years and stay with the same mentees, or do they switch it up every so often? I guess that's for you, Kea.
Sounds good. It really depends on their commitments and how long they are, enrolled in Rutgers as well. So they'll be in the peer mentorship program as long as they like to. We do ask that they stay on with us for a minimum of 1 year, I believe. Just because we like to see them build rapport with our students, and it does take time to do that. It can't be done in 1 week alone because they do meet only once a week for an hour or more, depending on how well they get along. So
amazing. Absolutely amazing. Anything you want to add to that, Erin?
No, that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, it's really a case by case, type of thing when it comes to how long they're matched for and things like that. We love when a peer mentor wants to be with us for their whole, time there with Rutgers as well. But yeah, it depends on, the situation. But yeah, usually they stay together. Sometimes they switch it up. It's case by case.
Can they start as freshmen, or do they need to wait till their sophomore year to apply?
They have to wait till their sophomore year to apply because we want them, to have their own time to get acclimated to Rutgers and that type of thing. So yeah, they can apply from sophomore year on.
Okay. And then I have to ask this, and you may not even know the actual answer, but how does this get paid for? Is there a grant? Yeah.
So our college support program is a fee, pay for, service, you have to pay for it. So for the tier 2, which is the more comprehensive service that CSP offers, it's $3,500 a semester or $7,000 a year. For the tier 1 service, which is the less comprehensive service that we offer, that's $1,000 a semester. So families can pay out of pocket. If a student is from New Jersey, sometimes they're able to get funding from the Division of Vocational and Rehabilitational Services through the state. And recently, students are also able to include the cost of CSP into their financial aid package as well. So they may not have to pay for it now, whenever they're done and they have to start paying their loans, that's when it would start.
All right. Good to know. All right. Well, anything else that we've left out? Is there anything I haven't thought to ask you guys that we should talk about? I want to talk about your social media sites because people can go and learn more about you guys. You guys have, they can go to rcaas.rutgers.edu/CSP to find out more about CSP. And then there's a Facebook page that's, if you go to Facebook, it's /RutgersCAAS. And then you're on Instagram as well. If they go to Rutgers CAAS /$ to find out more. I was tootling around the Rutgers site. It's a great university, a great place to go, and parents can know that they're sending a student. The students can know that they're there and they have a safety net. There's a network to surround them. Really incredible. Thank you, ladies, so much. I look forward to seeing what you guys do with your lives. You're making a huge impact. Thank everybody at Rutgers for us. And we really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Two amazing young women. I get so excited when I see the people who are coming into the field because it gives me so much hope, you guys. There's so much innovation. There's so much compassion. There's so much care for inclusion. that was not there 20 years ago, right? Can we all just admit that? I remember somebody saying that when Julia became a character on Sesame Street, that somebody said, wow, don't you just want to fast forward 30 years from now? And every person who is doing interviews for every HR is going to be a kiddo who watched Julia on Sesame Street. And this is no longer going to be something that they're completely unfamiliar with. How is the world going to change? And we're already seeing that, even, with kiddos that didn't watch Julia, because we have smart, innovative people who are making smart choices. So we're seeing many more students be successful at college, because if we give them the right support, ta-da, surprise, they so can do it. I also think about Temple Grandin saying, if we don't start putting individuals who are on the spectrum in places where with support that they can be successful, we all lose out. These are brilliant young people. They deserve the right to be at the forefront of the field that they want to be. And oh my goodness, it's good for all of us. So absolutely love that. I hope that you've enjoyed this interview and that you're checking out all the interviews that we're doing in April. Please make sure to look at the calendar. You don't want to miss anything at all. We will be back with more programs. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much. See you next time.